In this video, we're going to be talking about the three pillars of an FPS game as far as I can tell, and this is experience, progression, and competition. This topic's relation to Black Ops Cold War is purely subjective based on my preferences, so don't take them too seriously. If you can think up a pillar of FPS games that I don't think about, then go for it. So in my opinion, experience can be distilled down to variety, fidelity, and perception. Competition is related to balance, pacing, and the ways you have of winning. And progress is about delaying gratification, setting goals, and having replayability. Let's start with experience, variety, fidelity, and perception. The example that I'm going to use for this is Insurgency Sandstorm. It seems appropriate. This game has variety in the sense that your weapons are all unlocked from the get-go. You have a lot of attachment options for all of them. The maps are varied and complex, and there's no mini-map or UAV to help you pinpoint enemy locations. This requires perception. You don't even get numbers on your screen when you get a kill. You have to make sure who you shot drops to the ground. Luckily, there's a fair amount of blood and dismemberment, so it should be pretty easy to tell, but you have to be paying attention. Watching for small movements, listening for footsteps, being quiet so people can't listen for your footsteps, keeping your head down so it doesn't get taken off, and navigating each map feels drastically different. So this is a perfect example of the experience pillar of FPS games, but what does it lack? It is sort of weak on competition. Yes, I want to beat the other opponents and I want to take them down, but the point of Insurgency is not to be a balanced competitive environment. It feels more random and reactionary, trying to mimic the chaos of real combat. It's more milsim Twitch shooter than competitive Twitch shooter. With the really rapid time to kill and the variety of weapons, it's hard for me to pin down exactly what balance looks like. And the maps, though well designed as far as I can tell, aren't designed to be the most competitive, fair environments for combat. There are just advantages to having certain areas of the map. I think the only part about Insurgency that directly correlates to competition is the ability to communicate with your team and work towards the common goal of securing objectives or taking out opponents, but this game is far from being a balanced esport. And when it comes to progression, there is some cosmetic progression, but everything else is unlocked to you. It's not exactly satisfying to level up in this game because, yeah, you might be able to make your character look a little different, but you're not unlocking guns and leveling them up. You're not progressing through a battle pass. You're not prestiging. I mean, do you want to use an M4 until you get gold camo for it? It's probably not gonna happen. So delayed gratification, setting goals, and the replayability aspect is sort of lacking here. But the experience, the moment-to-moment experience is great. It requires your perception. It has good fidelity. It looks good. It sounds good. The animation quality is damn good, and the variety, you can't escape it. Every map is going to play differently. They're going to have different advantages and disadvantages for different areas, and if you make the wrong decision when you're moving through the maps, you're going to die. It's not supposed to be laid out so that every playstyle can have a little bit of fun. It's set up so that you have to learn it like the back of your hand, and it's complex, so that will take a while. Moving on to the next pillar, we have competition, and there's no better example of competition, in my opinion, than Halo. Halo is perfectly crafted, damn near, at least in comparison to other shooters, for competition. In Call of Duty, if you want to spawn in with a sniper rifle and one-shot people in the chest, you go for that. But in Halo, you have to know where that sniper rifle spawns. You spawn with the same weapon your enemy spawns with, and you have to then navigate these arenas that are very, very meticulously crafted for competition, fair, balanced competition, with a lot less crazy imbalance when compared to something like Insurgency Sandstorm. Halo is not trying to be an immersive, realistic military experience, it's trying to be a fun and fair competition. You have to know where the weapons are, you have to know where the grenades are, you have to know how to land multiple shots. In Insurgency Sandstorm, a bad player could, hip fire their M4 and land a shot to the upper chest on somebody and take them out. Halo requires persistence and consistency and pacing. My favorite example of this is Halo Reach. The Halo Reach DMR, in the way that it fires, is amazing. I love it. People complain, I don't. I think it's like a rhythm game built into a shooter. You fire, you wait for your reticle to reset, and you fire again, unless they're of course in point blank range. But you don't want your bullets to deviate and bloom off target. So Halo Reach feels like a game of persistence and patience. There are many Halo games and they can all be talked about for different reasons. I think Halo 2 is actually the most competitive, but I'm just trying to keep this video simple. Now, the Halo games had progression, and the MCC now has progression, where you can unlock different pieces of armor and visor colors and nameplates and weapon skins. So you have a little bit of progression, a little bit more than something like Insurgency Sandstorm, but it's not really there to keep you coming back. What you come back for is the competition. One of the elements of the experience pillar is variety, and Halo does have that, and that will keep you coming back. Each map in Halo is different. One of my favorite elements of any Halo game is just how much variety there is in the base launch maps of each game. When it comes down to it, Halo nails balance, pacing, and the variety of ways that you have to win and communicate with your team, and it nails variety. When it comes to fidelity, you're not going to get amazing Modern Warfare, Insurgency Sandstorm, Battlefield level animations and graphics. And when it comes to perception, the game has a radar and you can see enemies very clearly, and it's going to tell you when you get the kill. And the progression, like I said, is simple, but it's there. It might keep you coming back, it might not. So now we are actually going to be connecting this to Cold War. Why is Cold War the butt of this joke? Why am I making fun of this game again? Well, because I think the only pillar that Cold War actually succeeds at is the progression pillar. I believe the progression pillar to be the most shallow pillar in this lineup. You have lots of ranks to grind through. You have rewards at the end of your ranks, if you want to call them that. You have a battle pass, you have camos for both multiplayer and zombies. Each weapon has to be tediously leveled up over a long period of time. And I might sound like I hate this stuff, but I don't. Leveling up guns and unlocking camos is actually kind of fun, and I think it adds a good little bit of depth to a game, and a little bit of replayability to a game. Maybe not depth, but it definitely adds to the experience to be able to work towards something that's personal, and delay your gratification towards something more, well, exciting. I mean, I don't understand why zombie players are running around in circles on one map just trying to unlock a single animated camo by basically getting every other camo for every other gun. But it's that delayed gratification and that feeling of accomplishment that's driving a lot of people to Cold War. And I know that a lot of people love the competition of Cold War, and I think that's mostly due to the pacing, because it certainly can't be because of the balance, and it lacks in the ways of winning sort of category because, well, it doesn't really have a lot of variety to offer. Now, a lot of the base maps are different from each other, but in and of themselves, they're not very complex or interesting or interactable. You don't have that element there. It doesn't even have the little flavorings of something like Insurgency Sandstorm or Modern Warfare, where you can change your weapon's fire select, or lean around a corner, or mount a wall, or open some doors, or interact with something, for God's sake. You don't even have the customization of something like Modern Warfare or Insurgency Sandstorm to drastically change the appearance and style of your gun. I mean, in Modern Warfare, you can take an M4, give it 9mm rounds, and put a master key on the bottom of it and shorten the barrel and put a sniper scope on top. Is that stupid? Yeah, don't do it, but it's possible, and I think that's hilarious. That adds to variety and replayability. Instead, the weapons you level up in Cold War are just these basic stat increases that, of course, you're gonna have to equip. And Cold War doesn't require much perception, maybe in hardcore mode, but, you know, enemies have health bars and nameplates above their heads. There's a working minimap, which I actually totally love, but the game doesn't require you to pay active attention to the map as much as something like Sandstorm would. So you're less immersed in the experience due to a lower fidelity in terms of animation quality, and less experiences due to smaller amounts of variety within each map individually, but that pacing and progression really does keep people coming back, especially in contrast to something like Modern Warfare. Let me summarize this for you here before the video ends. These are my pillars of FPS design. They might not be yours, they might not even be real, but they're my truth. They're real to me, and my subjective experiences and biases, these are what ring to me. Experience, variety, fidelity, and perception, competition, balance, pacing, and the variety of ways you can win, progression, replayability, goals, and delayed gratification. These things have to come together. You have to have way more than 3 of these or 4 of these going for you to be a really good FPS game. It's a balancing act. If you have too much variety, then balance and pacing can get hurt. If you have too much perception required, the same things can happen. And then if you focus too much on the replayability and goals, battle passes, camos, and unlocks, you'll hurt variety, because when all there is to do is win games and unlock camos, the moment-to-moment experiences heavily falter. Cold War doesn't provide tension. It doesn't require my full attention. It feels like a cookie-cutter FPS that still somehow doesn't know how to balance its own weapons. It's not interactable, it's not tactile, it's not tactical. It just feels sort of there. It just sort of exists. It doesn't improve on the franchise's own formula. Black Ops 2 could also be critiqued for some of the things I'm mentioning, but I think it definitely nailed variety, it nailed pacing and balance, and it really nailed replayability, goals, and delayed gratification. While also, on top of this, and this isn't really a pillar of FPS design, but it's really important to a COD game like Black Ops 2, actually innovated the franchise with some key design choices. Things like League Play and the Pick 10 system. Black Ops 2 pushed a couple envelopes that are really incredibly important to us now, and Cold War just didn't do the same thing. Not every new idea is good, but Cold War doesn't have any to show you. It's running the same experiment that Black Ops 4 was running, but in my opinion, worse. I mean, I appreciate the lack of specialists, but I also have 5 working brain cells, so yeah, that checks out. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sorry if my voice sounded a little bit monotone. My throat kind of hurts right now, so I'm trying not to exaggerate my words because it kind of hurts, so sorry if my voice sounded a little bit dull. But either way, if you enjoyed this content, like and subscribe, and maybe check out the links in the description to support me as a content creator, because I can talk about stuff like this all day long. See you when I see you guys. Goodbye.